doing time in a California state prison. It ain't no joke. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So this is inspired by a live I did this morning. This video is inspired by that. People always want me to tell prison stories, and I doubt I could ever run out of them, but I don't want to be one-dimensional. You know, I'm in the prison genre. They say I'm a prison channel. I don't consider myself a prison channel. I would consider myself more of a motivational channel. And the reason why I say that is because I came from nothing. I was poor. My parents were, you know, alcoholic and a drug addict. And I saw violence. I was born into criminality and violence. I saw drug sales, drug use. You know, I got into gangbanging at a very young age. You know, I went through the whole juvenile system, juvenile hall, group home, camp, California Youth Authority. Still couldn't learn my lesson, and went to the California Department of Corrections with a life sentence for murder. You know, and so when I talk about my life experiences, of course, a lot of it is going to be from a prison perspective. I apply that perspective out here because so much of it can be applied out here, right? So much of it can be applied to become successful. There are some that, because they were, you know, like I can talk to somebody for 5 minutes and know exactly what kind of time they were doing in prison. And so those kind of people that I would personally identify as like yard bums, you know, slugs on the yard, they were just there. They were just, you know, waiting for that date to come up, and they weren't go-getters. And that's why they were always looked at a certain way, even if they didn't know it. But this video, I want to just, you know, like I always do with these videos, man, I want to give you guys a glimpse at what it is. What it always will be. Certain things may change here and there, but at the end of the day, what is expected of you and what you will possibly be faced with, that don't change. So in California, as people have, you know, depending that, you know, some people have deeper understandings of what really goes on in the system. And I can tell you right now that having been incarcerated and done 4 different shoe terms in Pelican Bay, had the conversations that I have, 90% of dudes think they know what time it is. They don't. They know what they've been told, and they know what will keep them motivated. And that's about as deep as I'm going to get into that, right? But when you come to California, you know, people ask me all the time, well, I'm from England. What would happen if I go to California and do time? Oh, I'm from this state. What would happen? Oh, I'm not from a gang. What would happen? The truth, and what I always say is this: in California, you come to prison in California, nobody cares where you're from. They care about how you conduct yourself. You will pick a side. You will pick a faction. You will pick a group to house with, to run with. And that's the group you're stuck with. You're not going to be, oh, I'm going to be from there. Oh, you know what? Those guys, they do this better. They do that better. You're not going to be doing that. At least not with the raza, right? And I don't think the Crips and Bloods would allow that. The Kumis wouldn't allow that. I have only seen that one time where an other started running Southside. But any other group on that yard, man, you're not going to be able to say, you know what, I want to run with them and be able to do it. You're not. It's just not going to happen. And within each group, within each faction, there is a program. You know, these dudes from out of state that don't understand the California program, they keep saying, well, you don't know, you weren't in that prison, so how are you going to talk about that prison? The prison itself doesn't matter. The program is what matters. And when the program changes, everyone is made aware of, in that group, everyone is made aware of the changes so that you don't get caught up and you don't get whacked because someone didn't let you know what the program was, right? So in California, you're going to function under a program. The politics of your faction, your group, dictate how you will conduct yourself. In California, they have this thing, and I'm sure they probably do it in other states. I don't know. But in California, they have this where if you are the one that is able to get to somebody without them putting their guard up, you're the one that's going to be asked. If it's serious enough where this dude really has to get touched up, he has to get blasted, he has to get hit, whacked, whatever word you want to use. If they decide that he is someone that needs to be killed and it's that important, his closest camarada is going to be the one that's going to be asked. You know, people have been asking me lately about the Menendez brothers. And supposedly, I'm hearing a rumor, supposedly they're on the same yard together. It's very rare now for brothers, people that are righteous blood brothers. It's very rare for them to get on the same yard together. They usually like to keep them separated. I've seen it happen, but it's rare. But imagine you're on a yard, you're functioning, your brother lands and something followed him, something happened, and he needs to get whacked. Those in the leadership position are going to know, fuck, his brother might want to jump in. And so there's the dilemma. Do you hit one or do you hit them both? Or depending on the brother that's not being targeted, depending on his obligations, what he has decided to be a part of, at what level, they may just say, hey, Holmes, look, you probably know about this, you may not, but your brother's in some shit. And by even opening that door, that's them saying, are you willing to handle that? And it's one of those things where I can tell you right now, in personal conversations with legends, I've heard legends themselves say, if Vato's brother fucks up and you're with it, he's not a part of what you're a part of. You deal with them. And then I've heard another legend say, a motherfucker that's willing to whack his own blood brother, I will never trust, ever, with anything. I will never look at him the same. That is the crazy thing about California. I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell you this story. This happened in Pelican Bay Shoe. And, you know, I've heard somebody told me there's no tear tender in the shoe in Pelican Bay. You've never been there if you believe that. There's some pods where the tear tender is actually a legend. And he's got the job so he can get out of his cell and go hang out and talk to who he wants to talk to. Other times they don't want that. They're like, fuck that. Whoever wants to talk to me, they can come to me, right? And when you come out for your yard time or whatever. Anyways, so there was an individual, a homie, and he was a tear tender. And the cops told him to lock it in his cell because they had an escort. So he goes in his cell. A new booty comes. A new arrival lands in the pod. And he comes in, he goes to his cell, then they pop the tear tender back out, right? So the tear tender is going to go over there and, hey, what's up, Holmes? How you doing? Hey, my name is so-and-so. What's your name? And the dude says his name and where he's from. The tear tender's like, okay. There were two legends in that pod. Two of them. One downstairs, one upstairs. The one upstairs calls the tear tender, hey, you get a chance, come to my pad. The tear tender goes straight over there. What's up? What do you need? He said, hey, that vato that just got here, who is that? And he said, it's so-and-so. He said, yeah, I thought so. And he said, that vato's a piece of shit. He said, any chance you get on a tira with him, kill him. And the tier tender said, all right, I got you. Takes off, still sweeping the tier. The legend on the bottom tier calls him. And he's like, hey, come here for a minute. He goes over there, what's up? And he's thinking, I'm going to hear it from him too, right? And the legend that's on the bottom tier says, hey, who was it that just came? And he tells him, well, that's so-and-so. And he's like, what? Hey, that's a really firme camarada right there. If he needs anything, find out what he needs so we can get it for him. Because, you know, I like that vato right there. He's firme. And the homie now has one saying kill, one say he's all good. And he came to my cell. He says, hey, Holmes, you got a minute? I said, what's up? He said, hey, look, Holmes, homeboy just told me this. And then homeboy over here just told me this. And the one that said he was cool was actually a really cool. He was one of the mellow ones, the cool ones. Killer, but very, very, very humble, very quiet, really, really respectful, cool cat, right? The one upstairs that said kill him is one that a lot of people don't like to talk to, don't even like to live in the same building with. I'll just say that, right? So I tell the homie, I tell the tier 10, I said, hey, go back upstairs, man, and tell him, hey, you just said this about the bottle, right? And he goes, and he's going to say, yeah. And then tell him, hey, well, look, I just want to make sure everything's understood. He goes, your brother downstairs is telling me this. And so he goes, all right, fuck it. So he goes upstairs and he tells him. He came back down and told me what was said, and we'll get to that in a second. But so when he went upstairs and he told him, hey, look, you're telling me, smoke him, but your brother downstairs is telling me to get him a care package and that he's a good vato and he's a camarada and everything. And the legend looked at the tier tender and he said, hey, listen, what my brother told you is the truth. And what I told you is the truth. So do what you got to do. So if he whacks him, the one downstairs is going to green light him. If he doesn't whack him, the one upstairs is going to green light him. That's the reality that can occur in California. And all these big mouths that talk about, and see, if that dude, either way, he's done. He's washed up. If that door opens and he's on the tier, he's washed up. But see, according to all these dudes that don't know California, that dude, once he's washed up, he's a pussy, he's a coward, he's a rat, he's all these bad things. He was a camarada that was willing to kill when the first one told him, kill him. And he's also a camarada that when the second one tells him, that's a righteous motherfucker, that he's like, damn, what do I do? He came back to me and he tells me what the one told him from upstairs. And he goes, fuck, homie, what the fuck do I do? And you know what? You want to know the honest truth? What I told him? I said, move out of the pod, Holmes. He was like, what? I said, I'm not saying lock it up. You're in a situation where you're done. Your career is over. One way or the other. Unless that bottle moves, go move in with one of the homies. See if there's a homie that they'll let, because at this point, they were no longer allowing, if you were validated, you couldn't have a cellie unless you had already been celled up with him in the past. And that was because of the murders that had occurred in the shoe. About 13 dudes got murdered in I think it was a 12-month period or something like that. I don't know. And so they stopped letting dudes that were validated get cellies. And the homie, the tier tender, was validated. So I told him, you got a homie around here that you could sell up with him, man. And let somebody else be the tier tender. And there might be people say, that's fucking punk shit. That ain't punk shit. What is he going to do? What would you do? Because when one says you're done, the other one can't be like, nah, I told him to do that. You say, okay, well, you told him that, but I told him otherwise. So now the situation is you picked sides. And see, that's what a lot of these vatos don't understand is you never pick sides. Whatever disagreements they have is their business. You're not on their level. So, in California, if those of you that are always wondering who would you run with, if you're white, you're going to run with the whites. If you're black, and you're not a gang member, you're going to run with the non-affiliated blacks. Maybe you're a Muslim, I don't know, then you run with the Muslims. But there's a place for everybody if you come to California. The politics are going to differ from faction to faction. But understand, it's going to be politics on a whole different level than any other state you could ever do time in. Does that mean California's the hardest? No, I don't ever say that. Do the vatos from California think that? Of course. There's an arrogance about California dudes that rubs everyone else the wrong way. I get it. It's the way we're raised. It's the way we're brought up. There's no apologies there. Because California cats always going to keep it respectful. We know that when we go to another state, you guys want to kill us. And out here in California, we don't do that to you. Because there's so much else going on. Why would they worry about one dude that comes from another state that poses no threat? That's my video for today, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.